Hey, what's up guys, DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Ghostrick test stand video. So I'm really excited to see you guys because this is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Tyler. And this deck is an amazing deck that recently just got some insane support out of Battle of Chaos. This deck revolves around setting monsters to your side of the field and controlling the board with all sorts of powerful trap cards to back up your Ghostrick monsters. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name scripted in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test stands. And definitely give Tyler some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one guys. So this deck is an amazing deck and I'm super excited to actually do this for you guys because you guys have been talking about this one a lot recently in the comments, and it's just such a fun deck to be able to play with. It's super cool the way that you can just control the board and be able to just go in for all sorts of different plays with this deck to be able to just make some really powerful plays. So we're going to go ahead and pile shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for this particular build. And I have to give a quick shout out to Tyler because Tyler actually helped me build this deck, and we actually built this one together, which is just super cool to be able to do that together. I really love the way that it turned out, and it's just such a fun deck to be able to play around with. I love all the text that we put into the deck, and it's just a really good time whenever I get to build decks with patrons. So let's go ahead and see what we can do after we get this deck pile shuffle, because you guys know it's dad rule number one. We got to pile shuffle the deck, and we're going to see what we can actually do with this build, because this build is pretty good to be able to just control the board. So let's go ahead and give the deck a quick little shuffle and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Ghostrick Mummy, a copy of Ghostrick Shot, a copy of Parallel Izzy. That's already a really good hand. With a copy of the Ghostrick Shot and the Parallel Izzy, we're going to get a copy of Angel of Mischief and a copy of the Festival, the new Link monster, another copy of Ghostrick Mummy, and a Ghostrick Lantern. This is a pretty good hand right off the bat because you have a rank 4 already in your hand, and you already have a protection with the copy of the Lantern, and you have a Monster Reborn right here. So let's go ahead and see what we can actually do. So what we're going to do is just immediately set the copy of Mummy on our side of the field. So once we go ahead and set that copy of Mummy, you can actually just go ahead and link it away because of the new Ghostrick Festival, the new Link monster, which has a really neat effect. And let's go ahead and take a quick look at that card. This card has the ability that you can also use a face down Ghostrick monster you control as a material to link summon this card. And then while a Ghostrick card is in the field spell zone, your Ghostrick monsters can attack directly. Then when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can tribute this card to special summon any Ghostrick monster from your deck in face down defense position. This card is absolutely nuts, and you want to make it first turn every single time. So we're going to go ahead and make the copy of Festival on our side of the field. So once we make that copy of Festival, you can actually just special summon out the Parallel Exceed to a zone it points to, and then special summon out another Parallel Exceed from the deck, which is always like one of the best plays in the entire deck, is to go ahead and get those Parallel Exceeds on your side of the field to be able to then overlay them, because they're both level 4 now, into a copy of Angel of Mischief, which is just so good for this deck. So now that we've shuffled up the deck, these are level 4, so keep that in mind about this deck, that those are level 4 monsters. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and remove those counters off this. We're going to go ahead and Exceed summon using both of these cards to be able to summon out a copy of Angel of Mischief. We're going to go ahead and detach a material from the Angel of Mischief because it has the ability to be able to search any Ghostrick spell or trap that you want from your deck to your hand. Now we have multiple options for what we can actually search. It's totally up to you what you actually grab with this effect. You can grab a copy of Renovation, which isn't going to come in very handy because you don't have a field spell. You can grab out your copy of the Ghostrick Trick or Treat, or Ghostrick or Treat, which is a really good card that's basically just going to burn your opponent for 2,000, or it's going to negate the monster's effect, which this card is just so good to be able to do. You have Ghostrick Knight you can actually search. You can search out any of the field spells like Parade, or you can search out Scare, which is usually the one I like to go for, is Scare, especially with the Ghostrick Shot already in the hand. But if you don't have Ghostrick Shot, I usually like to grab that card from the deck to the hand to be able to just immediately get that card's effect off. It's just so good for this deck. You can also grab a copy of Parade if you don't really worry about your opponent attacking you, because you have that copy of the Ghostrick Lantern in the hand to be able to protect you just a little bit. So it's kind of up to you what you're going to grab. I would probably grab out of this a copy of Ghostrick Scare, and this is pretty much just depending on player preference of going first, what you want to grab. I'm grabbing the copy of Scare because if my opponent does attack into me, I can flip a bunch of my Ghostricks face up and then flip a bunch of their cards face down to get me a bunch of different plays, which is pretty good. So At this point, you have some really good plays that you can go in for still. We're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Ghostrick Shot that lets us special summon a Ghostrick monster from our hand or graveyard, and then you can change one face down Ghostrick card you control to face up attack position, which is pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and special summon back the copy of Mummy from the graveyard to our side of the field, which is going to help us out a lot because it has a pretty good effect, but it's also just a 1500 attack one monster that you can once return change this card into face down defense position. It also has the ability that while this card is faceable in the field, you can normal summon one Ghostrick monster in addition to your normal summoner set, which is pretty good to just get us an additional normal summon to our side of the field. I really love that effect to be able to just get that extra card on my side of the field because all of your Ghostricks have the ability that they share that they can't be normal summoned unless you control another Ghostrick monster, and then once returned you can change this card into face down defense position, which is really good to be able to just use that ability to be able to just get that effect. So we're going to go ahead and flip both of these cards face down to be able to just get the maximum amount of monsters on the field for your copy of Ghostrick Scare that I accidentally put in the graveyard. This is not in the graveyard. This is actually in our hand. And we're going to go ahead and set the copy of Ghostrick Scare. Pass over to the opponent, and when our opponent goes, they're going to go ahead and summon out a couple of monsters to their side of the field. And when they do attack us, we can go ahead and use the effect of Festival to get that card off of our side of the field to special summon out any Ghostrick that we want from the deck, which is pretty good to just special summon out a copy of the Jiangshi, and also use the ability of our Ghostrick Lantern, which is pretty good to be able to just discard. Yeah, we're going to take a little bit of damage, but that's not that big of a deal, so you can just go ahead and activate the copy of Lantern, and once the copy of Lantern goes off, when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, they have to declare it a direct attack, but they're not going to attack directly, but you still have the copy of your Ghostrick Scare that will actually flip all of your cards into face up defense position and flip all of your opponent's monsters into face down defense position, which is pretty good to be able to just flip all of your opponent's monsters. If your opponent summons a bunch of cards to their side of the field, you can basically just activate Scare, flip all of their monsters that aren't link monsters into face down defense position with this card, which is very good as a good defensive card, while also getting all of our cards to activate, like our copy of Jiangshi that we got off our copy of our Festival. So you can go ahead and activate the copy of the Jiangshi's ability to be able to add a level 3 Ghostrick monster from your deck to your hand, which is going to be pretty good to be able to add that card from our deck to our hand because it has the ability, or excuse me, for every Ghostrick, so you actually get to add a level 4 because we do have 4 monsters on our side of the field. So you can add the copy of Siren, which is really good to grab your copy of Siren from the deck, because then you're going to get more plays with that card because it has a really good effect. Because basically what your cards do is they have the ability that you can add, when your copy of Jiangshi is flipped face up, you can add from your deck to your hand one Ghostrick monster whose level is less than or equal to the number of Ghostrick monsters you control, which is pretty good. You can add any of them that you want because you have 4 on your side of the field. I like to grab Siren because it's going to get me more plays, and it's just really helpful to be able to do that. If your opponent does attack into you, you can flip the copy of Ghostrick Scare to be able to just flip them all face up and then flip all your opponent's monsters face down, or you can tribute off that copy of the Trick or Treat, or not the Trick or Treat, but the copy of the Festival, which is pretty good to be able to get that card on your side of the field. So at this point, your opponent's probably going to pass over to you because they can't really do that much more. And we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Fairy. So at this point, you can go ahead and flip them face down and then flip them back face up, which is pretty cool because they just basically flip-flop back and forth. So you can go ahead and do that and then flip them face up into attack position, which is pretty good. You are going to get that additional normal summon off of Mummy, which is just really nice. And you also have the effect of the Angel of Mischief that you can discard again to be able to search an additional card from the deck, which is going to be any monster that you pretty much want and need from the deck, or any of the Ghostrick spells or traps that you need. I'm probably going to go ahead and grab, since my opponent's monsters are probably face down, I'm probably going to go ahead and grab a copy of Mansion, because Mansion has the ability that if all monsters your opponent controls are face down, basically when your opponent does attack into you, it's going to do half damage. Or you can grab the copy of the Parade so you can get another search. It's totally up to you which one you grab, or you can grab a little bit more of a defensive card, which is like a copy of your Ghostrick Knight, which is just going to be really nice, especially when you flip all those monsters face down with your copy of Ghostrick Scare. You're going to get Knight and then keep them face down, which is really nice because then you can just basically go in for game, which is just really good for this deck. So we're going to go ahead and set this card to our side of the field. And the copy of Jiangshi, since it was flip faced up, again, you're going to get another search off this card, because basically you'd go ahead and use the copy of Angel of Mischief first, and then you go ahead and flip these face up to your side of the field, which is going to get you another search off the copy of the Jiangshi, which is is going to be like a 4 or less that you can actually grab from your deck to your hand, because we drew another copy of Fairy, we searched the Siren last turn. It doesn't really matter what you grab at this point, which is why I kind of skipped over it, but you're basically going to get to search from your deck to your hand any of your Ghostrick cards that you want. I'm probably going to grab a copy of Mary or Spectre, just in case my opponent summons a monster. It's kind of dependent on what you're playing against, is what you're actually going to grab. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and then at this point, you can actually go in for some really neat plays. We're going to go ahead and normal summon to our side of the field the copy of Siren, because Siren is just ridiculously good. And at this point, you can go in for a copy of a Link monster if you want to, by using one of your copies of your Mummy to be able to go in for your second copy of Festival, which is super helpful to be able to go in for that copy of Festival. And then you can go ahead and overlay both of these cards down here to go in for a copy of Alucard to be able to pop one of the monsters that you just don't want to have to deal with that your opponent controls. Detach a copy of your Mummy on your side of the field to go in for that play, and then basically you can go ahead and overlay on top of it a copy of Angel of Mischief, which is going to get you into a copy of F-Zero, which is just really, really good to be able to go into that copy of F-Zero as well, because you can make this on your side of the field if you want to, and then go ahead and use both the Angel of Mischiefs on your side of the field to be able to go into that copy of F-Zero is just so good, especially since the Alucard touches the graveyard. To be able to get another Ghostrick card back from your graveyard to your hand is just ridiculously good, because this card was sent to the graveyard because you attach the other cards. You'll actually get to add your copy of Ghostrick Shot back to the hand, which is why I didn't activate its other effect, because now at this point you can activate its effect to be able to grab a copy of Mummy from the graveyard to be able to put it back on your side of the field, which will get you that additional normal summon, which now at this point we can summon out the copy of Ghostrick Fairy to our side of the field, and we have this crazy board. So at this point we can go ahead and attack the opponent, and then after we attack, we can go ahead and flip all of these face down. If you want to attack in any monsters, you don't have to, but we're going to go ahead and flip all of these face down. The Atopic Zero is just really good to have on the field, and then at this point you can go ahead, when your opponent starts, activate the Ghostrick Knight, and all the monsters that they have stay face down. They cannot flip them back face up as long as this card is on the field. So you have this really crazy field setup, which is just really, really nice for this deck. So let's go ahead and go into the next test hand, guys, because as you guys can see, this deck is ridiculously good. It does play really, really well, and I really love all the new support that helps out with this deck, because you could have gotten another search with a copy of Siren on the following turn. And it's a lot about the grind game with this deck, because cards like Dogmatic Punishment just really help out the deck as well, because like sending the Alucard to the graveyard off the copy of Dogmatic Punishment is just so good, because it lets you target one of the Ghostrick card in the graveyard and add that target back to your hand. Like a lot of your cards that are in the extra deck have that ability, that when they're sent to the graveyard, you do get that search, which is what's really, really, really nice about this deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for the next test hand and see what we can pull off. And if all else fails, you can always Zeus, which is really nice because you play so many different XZ monsters in the deck. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can pull off for the next one and see what we can do. We're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can actually do for our next test hand. So now that we got the deck good and shuffled up, let's see what we can pull off. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Mary, which is pretty good. See, there's Dogmatic Punishment. We're going to draw into a copy of Jiangshi, a copy of Mummy, and a copy of Needle Sealing. So this is a little bit of a slower hand, which is fine. We have more traps than we have monsters. Last time we had like 5 monsters. This time we have like 3 plus a copy of Needle Sealing and Dogmatic Punishment. So we have a little bit more of a defensive hand and a little less going in hand. So what we're going to do with this hand is we're going to go ahead and set the copy of Mummy and link it away. You always do this first when you're playing Ghostrick. Go ahead and get rid of one of your Ghostricks and be able to summon out the copy of Festival, and then set these 2 cards on your side of the field and pass over to the opponent. Once they go ahead and go into their turn, you do have the copy of Dogmatic Punishment that will actually get you a card sent from the extra deck to the graveyard, which can be a copy of, say, Alucard or one of your other monsters that your opponent summons a monster that has low attack points. You can just send this to the graveyard and get your copy of Mummy back. Or if you want to wait on it, you totally can. To get your copy of Festival back in the extra deck is another option for you guys if you want to go that route. So at this point, let's go ahead and say that the opponent does declare an attack, and they're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Festival to be able to contribute this card to be able to special summon any Ghostrick monster in face down defense position. So we're going to go ahead and send that to the graveyard, and we're going to go ahead and special summon in face down defense position. Doesn't really matter what you summon at this point. You're basically just summoning it to be a little bit protective. But we're going to go ahead and summon out a copy of, say, Siren into face down defense position. And depending on what our opponent has at this point, we can go ahead and activate the copy of Needle Sealing if they do have 4 monsters on the field, which is pretty good to be able to just flip that and destroy all the monsters they have, which is really, really cool because it has the ability that you can only activate this card when there are 4 or more monsters on the field and you destroy all face-up monsters. So if they have 3, since we have 1, they have 3 monsters, you can activate this and destroy all the face-up monsters in the battle phase, which is just hilarious. And I've done it so many times with this card to be able to just destroy our opponent's monsters, and they think they're okay, but then you flip this and it's like, oh, I'm not. And it's really funny. Like, it really works to be able to do that. So at this point, let's just say that we destroyed their field, so we're going to go ahead and draw into the next turn, which we're going to draw into another copy of Siren. So at this point, you can go ahead and set the copy of your Jiangshi face down, and you can go ahead and flip face up your copy of Siren, which is going to mill the top 2 cards of your deck away. So we're going to go ahead and give the deck a quick little shuffle, and we're going to draw the top 2 cards and mill those off the deck. And if either one of these are Ghostricks, we get to add a spell or trap from our deck to our hand that is a Ghostrick card. So we're going to go ahead and hit 2 copies of Lantern. That is not ideal. We don't want to hit all of our Lanterns because those are really important for the deck. So at this point, you can go ahead and add a copy of Shot to the hand, which is going to be really, really good to be able to add that card to the hand, shuffle up the deck, and then you can go ahead and activate that card to be able to bring back to your side of the field the copy of Mummy, which is going to get us additional normal summon of the copy of the Siren to be able to go in for more plays. I love Mummy in this deck. It's so, so good for this build. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and get the copy of the Ghostrick Mummy on the field, normal summon out the copy of the Siren, and then XZ summon both of these to be able to summon out one of your Angel of Mischiefs to your side of the field. Is just super helpful to summon that card in face-up defense. To be able to then detach a material to add a spell or trap from our deck to our hand, which at this point could be the copy of Trick or Treat if you wanted to grab the copy of Trick or Treat to be able to go in for more plays. Or instead of doing that, since you have Mary in the hand, you can actually grab a different card. If you don't want to grab this, you can actually grab one of your field spells, which is pretty good to be able to grab like a copy of your Ghostrick Mansion to be able to half the damage because Mary is going to get you a special summon anyways. Or you can grab the copy of Parade if you want to add a couple of cards from your deck to your hand and you're not really worried about going into the extra deck because you have the Dogmatic Punishment set. So let's go ahead and shuffle it up. And then at this point, you can go ahead and activate the copy of the Ghostrick Parade on your side of the field. And then you have the copy of Mary in the hand. You can go ahead and link this away, or you can link the copy of the Jiangshi away. Totally up to you to go into your second copy of Festival. And at this point, you can go ahead and attack directly if you want to put this on your side of the field, because if all the cards, that has the ability that you can, if you can use any Ghostrick that's face down, and it also has the ability that, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you contribute this card, but it also has the ability that when a Ghostrick card is in the field spell zone, your Ghostrick monsters can attack directly. So if you go into the copy of this, I usually just summon this card in defense position, but you want to summon an attack position if you're going for the festival. You can go ahead and attack for 2,000 and then pass over to the opponent, which is pretty good to be able to just pass over with a copy of Festival that's going to get you another play. And then the Parade on the field as well, that they can attack directly or go through this. Like, they have to go through this first, but at that point, when they go ahead and go into their turn, you have the copy of Dogmatic Punishment that can send a copy of, say, Alucard to get rid of a normal summon, to be able to grab your Ghostrick Shot back to hand so you can use it again to revive stuff, which is really good. Like, this deck is so good. Like, it's so consistent. It's so easy to play, too. Like, you can even, like, when you go into your turn, you can even throw the copy of Zeus in defense position during main phase 2 to be able to, like, really psych the opponent out. So, like, you put this in defense, and then you're not really worried if your cards get destroyed because you have Mary in the end of the day, and you get to keep your Zeus, and if you draw in the next turn, you're going to draw into another copy of Lantern, so you have plays to be able to go into. So it's totally up to you what you do from this point. So let's go ahead and do one more and see what we can do for one more test hand for this deck. It's very much so the grind game with this deck from my experience of playing it, which is what's really cool about this deck and what I like about this build. Like, it's not all just like make insane board and pass. It's a lot of set a couple of cards, really disrupt the opponent, and then go in for more plays like I'm showing you guys, which is what's really neat, and really like stop them from just OTKing you with this deck is just really easy. Like, it's really fun to be able to play, and it's a really, really cool deck. I really love playing this deck. And now, like, with all the changes with Link format coming out, it really put like a real, like, it really hurt the deck a lot because you can't flip the Link monsters face down, but with the new support, it really took this deck to a new level and really is going to make it a really good rogue contender to me. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for the next one, because this deck is just insanely good. Like, I love this deck. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. For the next one, we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Lantern, Ice Dragon Prison, which is my personal attack of this deck. When I can play Ice Dragon Prison, I'm going to play it, because especially in this deck where you can just out a really powerful link monster your opponent summons, like, yes, please, I want to play 3. So we're going to go ahead and draw a copy of Shot, a copy of Scare. So this is totally fine. What you're going to do is just normal summon out the copy, or set, excuse me, the copy of the Lantern, get rid of this card, summon Festival, and then set 3 on your side of the field, which is the copy of the Scare, the copy of Lost Wind, and the copy of Ice Dragon Prison. Then you activate the Shot to be able to bring this card to the field, and then reset it on your side of the field, because you really do need the card on the field for the copy of Scare. So pass over to the opponent. When the opponent goes, they can attack. You can out their cards with a copy of Ice Dragon Prison to revive it to your side of the field and banish a card. Basically, the reason I like this card so much is because it outs stuff like Dragoon. Because if your opponent puts a Dark Magician in the grave, which it doesn't happen all that often, you can, if your opponent puts a Dark Magician in the graveyard, then you can use this card to be able to put it on your side of the field to then be able to banish the Dragoon and the copy of the Dark Magician, which is really cool. And if they're playing DPE, then you can go ahead and use Ice Dragon Prison and bring back the DPE after it pops something on your field, because they're not just going to suspect this one random macro card out of 3 usually to pop. They're usually going to pop this card usually in playtesting, but you can go ahead and just grab the DPE out of their graveyard and put it on your field, which is hilarious because now they don't get it back. Now you just get to keep it with this card. So I really like the Ice Dragon Prison tech card. Now the Lost One is really nice because it stops monster effects. This card gets rid of cards in their graveyard and puts them on your field, while also getting rid of powerful boss monsters. And then Scare is going to flip cards face down. So if they're going for that Anaconda play, you can use the copy of Scare to be able to flip them face down and flip your copy of your Lantern face up, which is pretty good. But if they go into battle phase and you tribute off this card to be able to special summon out a copy of, say, like a Siren or a Jiangshi off the effect of the Festival, you can really get some plays rolling, because when they declare attack, you can just tribute it, set this card on their side of the field, and then they're going to replay the attack. And then you can just go ahead and activate Scare at this point, and then flip these face up and flip your opponent's face down. And then this will go off to be able to add from deck to hand a level 2 or lower, which can be a copy of, say, Spectre or something like that, to be able to then just set this card on your side of the field later on. Or you can grab your copy of, say, Fairy or Doll or any of the ones that you need. Like, it's super, like, this card is ridiculously good in this deck. Like, it's so good in this deck. So you can grab any of the level 1s that you want or level 2s that you want, which is just super helpful to be able to grab. Like, you can grab Spectre or anything. So go ahead and shuffle up the deck after you grab whatever Ghostrick you want. I say Spectre because if they do attack with anything else, you have the play with this card that if they destroy one of these, you can then use this card's effect, which is just super nice. Usually they're not going to, but it's just there just in case, because we can always normal summon this out and make a Dolahan, which is why I searched this one. So at this point, you can go ahead and draw for turn. And when you draw for turn, we're going to draw into a copy of Mummy, which is really good because at this point, we can go ahead and get a copy of Alucard. So what we can do is just normal summon this out to our side of the field, normal summon out the copy of Spectre, and then you can basically just overlay both of these, and whatever monster that your opponent had on the field that you set with Scare, you can then just detach this and then pop the card. And then once you do that, or excuse me, you have to do it with these two. You actually do it here. You can actually detach the material of the Mummy off of this, because it would be right here, to be able to then detach this, pop their card, and then make a copy of Angel of Mischief on top of this. And then once you do that, you can then detach the Alucard off of it. And then once you do that, you're able to then search a spell or trap, and then the Alucard goes off too, which is really good because you can add any of your spells and traps that you need, and it'll just really helpful because then you can use the copy of the Ghostrick Shot to add from deck to hand off of Mischief, shuffle up the deck, and then you can activate this to bring back any of your Ghostricks that you want, like your Mummy, back to your side of the field, and then overlay both of these down here to be able to summon out your copy of your Dullahan down here, which is going to help you out even more. And then this could be an attack position instead. Link this away and summon out your copy of your other card, which is your Festival. So you now have Festival, and you have everything all over again. And you can also banish this from the graveyard to give your cards more materials, which is just really good. So that's pretty much it to show you guys how the way that Ghostricks actually work. It's a really, really fun deck to be able to use and just be able to just grab anything that you need from the deck at any time. And it's just super, super fun. Like, this card is so good in the deck to be able to just grab anything that you need off this card's effect. I really love it to be able to just grab any of those spells and traps. And the art is just phenomenal. They're just so cute and easy to play. Like, I love this deck. And it's not even like crazy to play the deck. Like, basically you're just trying to control the board. Like, this deck is turning into one of my favorite control decks, and I really love the way that it plays. But I think that pretty much shows the way that the deck plays and how it can go into the grind game for you guys. It's just super fun. Make sure that you use that effect of Ghostrick Shot to be able to banish it from the graveyard. That's something that I really wasn't doing because I was trying to get it back, because it does have a really nifty ability that you guys will see in the deck profile, which if you guys want to check out the deck profile, it is down in the description below. But it has a really nifty effect that I wasn't using in the test hand because I wanted to be able to grab it back. But basically what it does is you can banish it from your graveyard and then target a Ghostrick XZ you control and attach a Ghostrick card from your graveyard to that card as a material, which is pretty good to be able to use, to be able to just use its ability. And if you have multiple Ghostricks set face down as well, you can flip them up with that card with just one of them, which is super, super cool for the deck. Like, it's just such a fun deck to be able to play. Like, I really, really love this deck. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. I definitely would try out Ghostricks if you've never played this deck before. It's just a super fun deck to be able to play with, and it's really, really, really good now with all the new support, and I really love the way the deck plays. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.